everyone. It is Sunday evening, the 11th of April 2020. So we're already a quarter of the way through the year, which is frightening, of course. I'm going to be having a look at the week ahead, starting off with and focusing on currencies, just having a look at major kind of news that's expected this week. I think really my concerns are, I don't really have too many concerns with regards to the US dollar at the moment. I think that they're relatively stable despite fears of inflation. I think really what potentially will be the most disruptive here will be things such as the Royal Bank of New Zealand's rate statement. That can often cause a little bit of a spike, and really that's pretty much it. So in other words, there's nothing here that the market is particularly edgy about, and therefore not too concerned about the general stuff here. There might be your usual spikes, but I don't think there's anything that's an iceberg ahead, so to speak. Then moving on to the charts and having a look at the dollar index here. So we've had a relatively deep retracement here. It's very nice so far. The performance, the behavior around key levels back down to 92, testing that now as potential support. So this is what I'll be looking for this coming week to see if we do have a turnaround here, if we do make another run up in 93. So you'll recall in my last video I spoke about the idea that price on the monthly would pull back into this area, and then potentially there would be a situation whereby price would potentially head lower or head higher. Currently, and we're not even halfway through the month, there's a bit of a bearish candle there. Okay, so it's very early days. We do have a swing high on the weekly. We do have an uptrend on the weekly. So we just don't have enough information here to be able to kind of work out really what's going to be happening. I'll need to see how this actual monthly candle closes. So I can't really, with any high degree of confidence, make any calls as to where this is going to go. This is the area where I was expecting it. And so what I'll be doing is looking for this week to see if do we fall through 92 first. If we do, then all of a sudden there's that potential idea of the dollar continuing to weaken. But actually, I have mentioned this before, I am saying that because we're at the bottom of a range and we are still within that range, the possibility of the dollar now just kind of ping-ponging around, and therefore, just until we get out of this range, that we get this kind of the trends, but for very short periods of time or short distances, and then ultimately turns back on itself, is still a real possibility. So keeping it close to home and just really focusing on this coming week, it's really about what happens around this 92 level, Monday and Tuesday this week. Do we drop below that? If we do, then it becomes more likely we're going to head back down towards 91 for the most part. Alternatively, if we do manage to recover and then go back up to 93, which kind of I'm leaning a little bit 55-45, that actually it's going to really is going to make an attempt to finish a little bit higher by the end of the week. We'll see how that goes. Alternatively, even here looking at the weekly, a little bit of a break below that, nice little bullish candle finishing up above that is the third option. There's not an unlimited number of ways in which this can fold out. There's only 2 or 3 different ways in which this can fold out, and I really want to see what is the case for that. So I'll just be a little bit cautious when it comes to those initially until there's a little bit more certainty that comes on around that. Having a look here at euro dollar, so my only comment on this really on the daily is that we've done a very deep retracement. We've done a very deep retracement here, which implies a little bit more strength to the US dollar. All right, it's a really solid big candle. Wants to come back into 1.2, potentially test that for resistance, and then potentially continue down. Okay, that monthly has got a bit of an uptrend, but again, that's a very deep retracement. So it's done a very deep retracement to the upside, which is not a great sign of strength, and it's done a very deep retracement to the downside. So there is a simple explanation for this, which is really range-bound behavior. Range-bound behavior is the only way in which we get kind of these off-center or slightly aggressive retracements in multiple different directions, which don't really make sense. And so my instincts are telling me to be prepared for range-bound behavior, which means a little bit more erratic behavior just for the foreseeable future, maybe for the next couple of months. Having said that, this just implies potentially that there's a little bit more strength. So in other words, this might see that we push back up to 1.2 to test that and then take it from there. So let's have a look at that. So then sterling against the US dollar, also here looking as though it is a weaker pound against a stronger US dollar, so supporting the idea of a stronger US dollar there. What it really looks like on the monthly is a nice retracement down to 1.35. All of that looking pretty feasible. So that kind of supports the idea that there's a possibility of getting a stronger dollar this week until prices hit those next levels of support. Australian dollar against the US dollar, not a lot of strength here really, and quite range bound. It's also very much kind of almost a potential head and shoulders here, but not looking that great here. And you can see on the monthly, it's struggling with that level of 77.50 and potentially wanting to do a retracement. And that one would bring it down to these previous highs, which is 7,400. So that makes the most sense to me. So that again leans towards possibly there's hinting at that stronger US dollar. All right. Then this a little bit more interesting here. So we've got this nice downtrend on QB dollar, US dollar coming back into resistance, and a continuation down makes perfect sense. It does. But on the monthly, we've got this uptrend. We've already done a bit of a retracement, and we've got a nice little bit of a bullish candle here. So I'll watch this one a little bit more closely. If we do indeed get that initial dollar strength, then it makes more sense that the Kiwi dollar will start to head down towards 69. And so I'll keep an eye on that. Then having a look at dollar yen. So if we're getting a stronger dollar, just in case I've mixed up the things, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for signs of a stronger dollar initially. And so dollar yen coming back to test these previous highs, would it make sense that it actually would potentially continue to the upside here? It's got a little bit of a kind of an uptrend on that weekly, and it's just a very deep retracement again on the monthly. This is all range bound behavior. These kind of very strong retracements wouldn't happen if the trend to the downside was quite strong. Okay, so again, initially I'm leaning towards this. The biggest level that I have is either just below us and potentially up here at 111.7, and so therefore again I guess it makes more sense for me to expect this to continue to the upside up towards that, which supports the idea of that stronger US dollar. Dollar Swissy, deep retracement here. Okay, so that actually being within this kind of, here we had quite a bit of range bound behavior on the monthly. We broke below 0.94. We pulled back in, produced a bit of a bearish monthly candle again. It's too early to really tell. I'm just kind of talking about it as it unfolds. But this sort of, and again, we've broken this previous high. So this downtrend is technically not intact, and so actually it wanting to come back in that range makes perfect sense to me. So the pairs that I would stay away from would be Kiwi dollar, potentially dollar Swissy. These ones have much more mixed signals, whereas the others are doing retracements up to key levels and potentially easier to spot what's happening there. Then finishing off with dollar CAD, this does look more bearish than bullish. It keeps finding some strong resistance up in these bands up here. Also looking at it on a weekly basis, pull back in into these previous levels and has produced that swing high. So break below 1.25 should then see it continue, and also again you can see it's largely range bound here. It's not a coincidence that a lot of the majors have been in ranges going back to 2016. It's not a coincidence. It's kind of when Brexit kicked off, so that's the euro, US dollar, but we've certainly had some range bound behavior for a while. So I'd like to see this break out as well. Again, until it breaks out, I won't count my chickens until they hatch, so to speak. I won't make any assumptions until this breaks up, but it certainly looks on the daily and on the weekly as though it wants to have another go at that level. So we'll see. If we get that really, really strong dollar, then it'll probably bounce it back up over these levels. And a sign of that stronger dollar would be a break above this 1.25, 1.26 blue band on the weekly. And yes, so please excuse the sound of the hardy dars in the background. That's just unfortunately a way of life right now. And that's it. So lots of caution, I think, on the majors this week because that range bound behavior is very much in play. But I'm going to lean a little bit more towards a stronger dollar, at least certainly initially, and then see how it plays out throughout the week. Thank you.